hop on and just kind of give us a little background about, we can just call him a client, but we have a 20-year-old, or is it 24-year-old? I'm trying to recall.
So my cameras, I would, you would get a visual of me, but ever since NASA, I had to do my certification online, and NASA come on and did something to my camera, and
Look
I
at that.
can't
They're
get
screwing
back.
up the fitness industry and they're screwing up your computer. Look at that.
I can't get my camera back on for some reason. But anyway, so yeah, he's 27. He'll be 28 here in a couple weeks. He's
Okay.
been working out for a couple years now, and he looks pretty good, but he's reached a plateau.
Hmm.
This program is something he just got from a guy he met in the gym. That he said he was pretty jacked himself, so he took on his program.
Yep.
And that's what we have.
And does he have any injuries or anything we should be aware of?
No injuries. Like he hurt his wrist about 2 or 3 years ago, but other than that, no, nothing.
Yep.
No problem at all.
So with this is your typical scenario where you're going to have I was in that same situation. You're a younger kid, and who do you go for advice? You go to the one who's the biggest in the gym. And so they have a program, and we seem to associate the end product, the per individual, with the program that they're doing. And so I'm not saying anything about your son or this guy, but who knows how long this guy's been training, how awesome his genetics are, what cycle he's on. There's a lot of factors that go into it, but these are the things that I'm going to review, go on in my mind, and then we can formulate a plan that's going to be different for him, and just to change it up. And you hear that plateau. Typically, what I'm going to come across as you're going to hear is from the client is that they're not seeing what they want. B, they're not gaining as much strength as they'd like. And what's going on in my mind simply is fit, frequency, intensity, time, type. So who could tell me the three mechanisms behind hypertrophy? We've talked about that a lot in class. Dr. Schoenfeld's one of the pioneers behind that. The three mechanisms behind hypertrophy.
Stress, tension, and damage.
Okay, so number one, and the most important, is the tension that's being placed on the muscle. So we have different types of hypertrophy. Mainly we have myofibril hypertrophy. There is a secondary mechanism which isn't as strongly supported, but there are people out there that are huge advocates of it. It's called sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. That's pretty in-depth, advanced hypertrophic mechanisms, but we're just going to look at the top of the iceberg. We have how much weight essentially are you moving, and how much time is on the muscle. So those are two little caveats. So you have the weight, which is the intensity, and then the time under tension. And then like NASM, for example, they extrapolate that mechanisms of hypertrophy as time under tension. And that's unfortunate because it's not the main driver. So what they have you do is a 2-0-2 tempo, which compromises force production. But then on top of that, you're going to be resting 60 seconds. So it's just not optimal. It is a mechanism, though, and that's going to be metabolic stress, where you accumulate these metabolites. It's that burning sensation. So right now at the end of my chest workout, I was just getting my chest on. I did a few sets of chest flies. And then after a chest fly, I went immediately into a dumbbell press. Again, as I said, at the end of a workout. So what this did is the isolation is going to cause a lot of damage. So if you slow down that eccentric, it puts a lot of damage into the chest. And then on top of that, my volume was high, therefore creating a lot of metabolic stress. So we have these three mechanisms: damage, stress, and tension. But then we have on a weak level, this is what we're going to take a look at today. We're going to look at the volume, the frequency, and intensity. So those are the three most important things. So volume, when we take a look at this day, well, actually, this isn't the one I want, number one. Sorry. So I think it's this one. Nope. Can you guys see these okay? I mean, at least can you see something on there? You're not just staring at me. Here we go. Yes?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So what we have here is bench press, 4x10. So S and R is sets and reps. When you see 10, 6, 4, 8, what that means is you're going to do a warm-up set or two, and then you're going to put a weight on there. You can only do 10 times. They don't give you a rest, so we can't see that. But typically when you get closer to 1, you're just going to rest a lot longer. So what I would expect is with 10 reps, you're going to rest maybe 2 minutes. 6 reps, you're going to rest 3 minutes. 4 reps, maybe you do 4 or 5 minutes. 8 reps, you would rest 2 or 3 minutes. Now, depending on who wrote this, those variables could change, but it's going to be eccentric, concentric, unless sometimes you'll see like a 3-0-0-2. That's going to be looking at the eccentric and concentric with isometrics. So typically you'll see them wrote like this. So then you do that first one, straight sets. So getting down to 4 reps, that would mean that your intensity is pretty high. That'd be roughly about 90, maybe 88% of your 1 rep max. So that's a decent amount of weight. I would take this total volume as 4 sets. Now I'm going to go into the next group. And so you see how the A and the B, that's going to indicate a superset or a circuit. So we do incline dumbbells followed by a rope pull downs, tricep extensions. So I like the barbell because that's going to optimize tension there. And he does a really good job of getting it with 4 reps. So that's okay. And then you look at the next one, we're doing dumbbell, which would be unilateral, a lot more cross brain synthesis and all this cool stuff going on. So I like dumbbells because it helps bridge any discrepancies you may have in each limb. And then he's doing tricep push down at the end, which is fine. So incline into rope pull downs. Again, I'm going to guess he's resting 2 to 3 minutes. A lot of times with these bro splits, you may find a shorter rest period. And I would just like to see that more at the end. So that would be a question I would want to address. And then number 3, we're going to get into some cable raises. Chest, I'm taking it's just going to be like a front raise right here. Now, when we go through our chest anatomy, so it's important to understand that. So we have the big pectoralis major. If you remove the pec major, you have the pec minor below it. The pec minor sits kind of like this. So it's more of a breather and a protractor of your scapula, the pec minor is. So the pectoralis major, we have the sternal region, we have the clavicular region, and the costal region. So that's what's going through my mind. I'm looking at the muscle fibers. And so the sternal region goes like this, and it inserts into your intertubercle groove of the humerus. And then you have the clavicular region, which is smaller. And you have the costal region, which is like that block look. So when we do a bench press, it's more sternal. The horizontal press is horizontal adduction. But you'll notice on a bench press, the range of motion is actually restricted. And depending on how the individual does it, that's why you got to watch the form, is we don't know what the form looks like. So if we're only going halfway, it's not that much pectoralis major activation, a lot of tricep work, anterior deltoid work. It's a fine exercise, but a dumbbell press would probably get more activation of the pec major, but you're going to get more of the clavicular region. Then when you do a cable raise, it's just going to be more isolating on this upper region, which is the clavicular, into a reverse pull down. I'm not quite sure what that is. I'm guessing it's a supinated pull down. I could be wrong. If that's the case, we know about tricep anatomy, and that's a terrible tricep exercise. So I would just switch that. I would talk like that too. I'd just be like, that's a terrible tricep exercise because I want you to just hold your tricep and then turn your hand over. You're going to see that the tricep doesn't do anything. So therefore, by having a supinated grip, it's just as engaged as a pronated grip. So which one are we stronger at, supinated or pronated?
Pronated.
So then why are we doing the supinated? Some people will say erroneous things such as, oh, you're going to get the third head of the tricep. No, that's false. The triceps extend the elbow and they extend the humerus. Where you look at the bicep, it flexes, but it also supinates. The triceps do not have an impact on radial-ulnar deviations. So that's just a fun little factoid that you understand when you understand anatomy. So that's the first thing I'll probably want to address. Keep it pronated. And so we're doing an isolation into another tricep, and then we're going to go to another chest fly variation. Cables are machine. You get to choose. So maybe the pec machine's open. You hit your 4 sets of that. V-bar tricep push downs. So that's a little V with the little handles on the end, and you're going to extend down 4 by 10. And then we get into 2 burnouts of push-ups. And then we do 2 burnouts of dips, and you do some abs. I'm really glad that we have this right here so you can see just the stereotypical program for what you would probably see with more of a bodybuilder.
Hey, Chris, do you think the rope pull downs and the V-bar, tricep push downs, they're very similar, right? Do they hit the same muscle head, correct?
And so does your cable raises here and a chest fly. So it's just a variation of a tricep extension. I think they're both great. I would actually prefer the V bar because you can get more leverage and you typically can use more weight. So those are both fine. So what goes through my mind, I'm gonna just calculate for this one workout. Now this one workout is a small piece of the puzzle. We can't say that, oh, I know exactly why you hit your plateau. It could be that one, the intensity isn't there when his workouts, because when you get down to 4 reps, you need to have a spotter. And if you don't have a spotter, then you're probably using a weight that you could do 6 to 8 times. So the intensity probably isn't as there unless you have that workout partner. That's one of the values of working with a trainer. Number 2, I want to look at how does that workout flow? Are you truly resting 3 to 4 minutes? Because if you're not, you're compromising force production, a lot of tricep work in this. So your chest isn't going to be doing nearly as much work as it would if you were to flip it around and do more of an antagonistic muscle. So what do I mean by that? So I would prefer to see, for optimal recruitment of the chest, less triceps and actually no triceps. Take triceps out, put it on a different day. Why not do triceps when you do back? Because if you were to do biceps today, then you're not destroying your opportunity to get more recruitment. Especially look down here. How many push-ups do you think he's doing during that burnout? And that burnout is tricep specific. Same with the dips. That's going to be the limiting factor on there is going to be your triceps. So this is heavily favoring his triceps. So he could be frustrated that his chest isn't growing because this is so tricep dominated. You look at the total volume for his workout, 4 for bench, 4 for incline, so we're at 8. 4 for his flies, 12. And then we're going to do 4 more here, 16. And then we get 2, 18, 2 for dips, 20. It's just not optimal. If I were to give this a grade, I would give it a D plus, C minus. So the program in itself just isn't optimal. But then you have the counter of how you present this to the individual. Now, if you tell a 28-year-old who's bigger than you, like, dude, this program sucks. Well, you should hear the guy that I got it from. He's twice your size, Chris. So obviously I wouldn't talk like that. You got to look at what is the ultimate goal of this program. Is it more strength or is it hypertrophy? Those are that's the big difference I want to address. Because the way that he has this program, I would see it more as hypertrophy, but it's not allowing for optimization of your chest due to all that tricep work. Does that make sense?
Chris, what would make you say it would be geared more towards strength versus hypertrophy? Would it be?
He only has one set of 4 in here. So when I like to look at a program, like if you look at some of the great programs out there when it comes to strength, you'll see like a Windler 5-3-1. So the main lift of the day, you'll do 5 by 5. So 5 by 5, when you're resting 5 minutes, you're getting 25 reps, but it's going to be, roughly 30 to 35 minutes of work. But that's a lot of neurological engagement. It's not a lot of hypertrophy though, due to the low amount of volume. 5 by 5, 35 reps. So when we go back and we take a look at total volume for this one, we just said he had 20 sets, but he has 4, 6, 8, 10. So that's going to be, what do we got? 14, 18, 28 for the first part. Only 1 set in strength. So how my mind goes is 4 sets, 1 strength. Next one, 4 hypertrophy, 4 hypertrophy, 4 hypertrophy, 4 hypertrophy. 1 out of the 20 is strength. So I'm guessing this is someone who wants to get bigger. Now, my question would be, why are we in love with 10? And this is always fun to fuck with people and do it with your son. Now, this would be a good kind of talk because mom's wrong, obviously, because 1, you're mom, and 2, you're a girl. And that's just how it's going to go in your son's mind. That's just, chauvinistic kids, right? And so it's kind of fun to mess with them a little bit. You'd be like, all right, let's call him Brandon. Brandon, why aren't we doing sets of 9? or 11, or it says 10 to 12. It guarantees doing 10 to 12. So why not 14? Why not 7? Why are we in love with like even numbers? It's always funny that I don't know where that came from, but it's always sets of 6, 8, or 10, maybe 12, but why not 15? So it actually even, so it's like before we critique it too much, I need to ask another important question. When are you doing this again? Now, Wendy, you told me how many days a week would he do this program?
So he goes 3 on, 1 off, 3 on, 1 off, 4 on, 1 off, then back to 3 on, 1 off, and he rotates through the different programs.
Okay, so I mean, this will be kind of fun. I actually haven't looked at any other programs. I'm just gonna guess as I do with most of them. I can tell you pretty much what the back day is going to be. Back day, you're going to see probably a lat pull down or a cable row. You're going to see maybe a T-bar row. The fact that he does have more volume on here, you will probably see more exercises. So maybe like a hammer strength row, a wide grip row, maybe chin-ups or pull-ups. A lot of bodybuilders don't do them because you can't really feel it very much, so they're not big into it. And there's actually kind of an interesting post from Dr. Pat Davidson, and I think Mark, you just got his program, but he was talking about he doesn't really like pull-ups. It's like, to each their own. If you were to talk to um, uh, Tennessee in the NFL, they're going to make fun of teams that pass a ton because they're more run dominant. Whereas you look at the Pats, you're going to make so it's like it all depends on that individual. And so we'll take a look at a back day, but what I'm taking from this is we're hitting chest twice. Our total volume would be 40 sets. It's a lot of volume. And so I want to switch over here real quickly and take a look at a really neat post from her name is Kiana. Now, Kiana, can you guys see this?
Yep.
This is making reference to the glutes, and so it wouldn't be fair to compare them to the pectoralis major, but they are similar in the sense they are large muscles. One of the larger muscles of the upper body, top 5 at least, would be the chest. One of the largest ones, interestingly enough, is your deltoid. Your deltoid's a huge muscle. Your triceps are pretty damn big. Your lats are pretty big, but your chest is a very big muscle. Your glutes are bigger. So the fiber types are similar. They're about 50-55% type 2 for the pectoralis major. They get all 3 planes of motion. The glutes are going to sagittally extend, abduct in the frontal plane, external rotate, posterior tilt. Whereas, as I just said with the chest, it's going to horizontally adduct. It's going to flex. It's also going to extend. And then we're going to have internal rotation. So this is a cool chart that she did. And if this is, again, I'm not saying that this will relate directly to the chest, but this is I like this post because she's one of Brett Contreras' competitors. And she puts it in here really nice. And she talks about evidence suggests that best progress can be made training the glutes anywhere from 2 to 6 days. Now, I like the range because if I'm talking to your son and he uses that word plateau, in his mind, he's frustrated. It could be something as simple as he's bored of the workouts. So we need to get him fired up again. And so if he's only doing it twice a week and he's not getting the results, a simple suggestion would be train chest 3 times a week. Now, is this your priority? Whatever muscle is your priority, it should change month to month, program to program, depending on what cycle you're in, maybe anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. But if your goal is to get bigger shoulders, you better prioritize Monday being shoulder day. And then if you do take a day off, as you said, a 3-1 split, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off, workout again Friday, Friday better be your shoulders again. So we want to prioritize that muscle that you want to train more of. I'm just going to be general and say he wants to optimize his chest. So if he's only training it twice, I'd like to see him maybe do it 3 times, but bump down the intensity. So let me just continue with this real quickly. She talks about the studies, and it would be nice when people do reference the studies say. She doesn't actually give the citations in there, which would be something where someone could comment and hear like, hey, can we see those studies? Obviously, she can just reference Brett's book, but it would be nice for someone when they say studies to actually put the study that they're referencing. But I like some of her things. Her studies done on training frequency show that a weekly volume of 10 to 40 sets, hard sets per week, can optimize the effective for muscle growth. Again, it's a wide range, but if we're doing 40 sets, and we've hit a plateau, what could we probably conclude?
Probably need to back off a little bit.
Okay, he could be overtraining. I would bet against that. Not saying you're wrong, D, but okay, for example, D, you're working with someone who they're in good shape, right? And they want to get bigger. When they tell you they're crushing 40 sets of bench or just chest in general, but they don't have a very big chest. I'm not saying that this guy doesn't, but what would you conclude?
Oh, he would. He's probably not lifting as heavy. He's probably not working as hard as he could.
Good. So I'm thinking here that the intensity of those sets is not where it should be. So when you look at, he's doing 70%. So remember that first one we did 10, 8, was it 10, 8, 6, 4? Something maybe like that. Let's see. 10, 6, 4, 8. 10, 6, 4, 8. All right. So out of the whole entire 20 sets, we have 90% between 8 to 12.
Before you go even further, can you explain the logic behind that rep count?
1 second. Yeah. So 4. This one right here,
Yes.
that's just what he chose. I don't know why he did that.
Okay.
I like it because it's, I'll just call this a pyramid set. So you do 10 and then you add weight, you hit your 6, add weight, hit your 4, take off some weight and do 8. Or if you really did this right, it would probably be like 10, add weight 6, add weight for 4, and then you definitely drop it for maybe to the same weight as the first one. So this might look like, say, 185, 205, 225, and then 8 would be 185. That's probably, if she said her son's probably in good shape, these would probably be numbers that I would think he would use. So 185 is a 45 and a 25. 205 is the 45 and 35s. 225 is 2 plates. It drops it down to 185. It's pretty typical. So again, you look at, this is the cool thing about just the science part. If I were to then draw this according to, what am I drawing right now?
Size principle.
So Henneman's size principle, making reference to firing frequency in the type 2, type 1 muscle fibers, and we go in a threshold. So what happens is, again, I'm just guessing here, is we're truly not resting as much as we can. So when he hits that first set of 10, he's going to have maybe this much recruitment. So he'll engage all this stuff down here. But if he's not resting a minimum of 3 minutes, he's not going to be able to get this stuff up here anymore. So then when go ahead.
So yeah, whenever I finally got in touch with him and asked him about his rest periods, it's what he said. He says he tries to keep resting his rest periods between the workouts, like 1 to 3 minutes between his sets or between supersets.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So he's not optimizing a full rest period.
Yeah. So I think that one, he could rest a little longer. So what I'd like to see here, again, not to overcomplicate, I'm going to try to simplify. I'm going to say, I would like to see, okay, so I'm trying to confuse you guys. So I'm going to give you guys the choice. I'm not saying do all of these. You as the trainer would need to ask these questions and gather more data because he's not right in front of us. But I would probably just make the simplest suggestion would be take out triceps, put biceps in there, do that for a month, put incline first on one of the days, and that would be my suggestion for him. So I actually want to look back here to see if he let's see.
Hey, Chris, when you talk about stress, tension, and damage, what portion would fall under stress?
The end.
The metabolic stress?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Got it.
So we look at his other chest day. It's pretty much the same thing as his other day, but it's less, no triceps. So he's doing 5 sets, 6, 5, 4, 5, 6. He's doing 4x6. He's doing 4x8. Then he's hitting his chest flies at the end and some weighted push-ups. So here we have 5, 8, 13, 16, superset there, 16, 18 total sets. So this is an interesting one right here. This has actually surprised me a little bit, but this is good. This is good data. He doesn't, for this one, it's just chest emphasis. So to simplify from what we have gathered here, I would just make one simple suggestion. And that would be on day one, when you're doing chest, take out triceps. And then for the next month, let's prioritize incline first. So just take out the bench press barbell. Don't do that first anymore. And wherever it says incline dumbbells, flip that with the bench and put number 1 to be the incline barbell. And you see how simple that is, but that's going to give him a significant amount of overload due to the fact the first day, if we take out his triceps and we put biceps in there, he's going to be able to get his chest a lot more than he normally would. So just by doing that for a month, I would highly suggest or highly be able to conclude that he'll be able to notice a difference. The last thing I'd want to do, what other type of data would you like to get from this? Very undervalued, but very undervalued in my opinion. What data? Anyone? Oh, you could get that if you wanted to. That's fine, but I wouldn't put that as my main data point I want.
1 rep maxes?
You could. He doesn't go there, so you have to be careful when you give someone a 1 rep max when they're not with you, because I don't know if he has a spotter or what. So in this day right here, he has 3. So in the whole week, he hits 4 in the strength. So this program is definitely geared more towards someone who wants hypertrophy. But interestingly enough, they don't get much into. So this weighted push-up could get you into the 20+ rep range. I might encourage to do, maybe even flip it around. These would be 2 like more intrinsic things. You could do more fly work at the end, just like he's doing an incline machine. So when you do the machine, you're going to be using your triceps. So my thing would be, why not do chest flies first, prioritize those, and then do the machine. Those are small little things that you could suggest for him. But just by changing up taking out the triceps and then adding the incline press, that would be more than enough. So that would be my couple suggestions. And then on days when he's not, if he's only hitting his chest twice per week, I might encourage him 1 day a week. Let's see, maybe like on what day
Chris,
is this?
I've seen you do those videos where you'll do a bench press and you'll do like a slow eccentric and then a pause at the bottom and then push up. Would you incorporate those into that to try to, create a little confusion on the muscle, or no?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, you can add in any of those little settings to help, like a superset, a drop set. Obviously, you're going to get significantly stronger when you're working with a trainer. It'd be very easy for us to work with them. I would get close to like a 3 to 5 rep max and start doing super overloads as well, because it just creates a ton of damage. And that can kind of, so if he hasn't done any type of detraining, and I think this is an important other thing to address. So this is like a good program analysis, because it is a little more complex than I think we're used to seeing. So when we look at and how long has he been doing this for, Wendy?
So he's been on this program for like 9 weeks.
Beautiful.
He switches them up every 9 weeks, he says.
So if he's hitting for 9 weeks, 40 sets per week, which you can have, and this is something that I went over with Dr. Chaliwa on my YouTube, and we looked at desensitizing the response for protein synthesis. So think of it as the the first time you get, I was in for New Year's over at mine. The neighbors have a pool and they're out of town, and I was hopping in their pool. It was fucking freezing. I was up in Whistler last year, and we went into these little ponds. These not ponds, but it's like a resort like thing up and they were 50 degrees, and that was the coldest water I've ever been in. On a Friday, I think it was colder. It was freaking so cold. But what's going to happen to me if I start doing that every single day? I'm going to get sensitized to it, right? And just, it's not going to be as cold. I can go longer. Same with like a steam room. You're going to get used to it. So what they've found is if you do not deload, you're essentially creating an environment where you need to go colder. You need to go colder to get that same stimulus. So the best bet that your son could probably do is take a deload week. And who could tell me what a deload week is?
You drop the weight significantly.
Yeah. So I would take his first program. So day 1, bench press. Three sets of 10, but with a weight that you could do for 20 to 25 reps. So if that 185 number that we had on there, he was doing for 8 to 10, he wouldn't even come close to that, probably 135. 3 sets of 10. Incline dumbbells, 3x10. Same thing, a weight you can do 20, 25 times. He's not going to fatigue. Maybe just to throw it around a little bit, 2 sets of 15 on eccentrics, super slow. Hold.
Chris, you're saying a weight that you can normally do
For 20 to 25. It's like, Mark, let's say you can bench press 225 for 10. Okay. I would want you to use 155 for 10.
Okay.
So now you look at this workout, that's 8 sets. I just want him to do chest 1 time this week. That's it. The next week, when he comes back, start back on week 1, flip it around as I said. So what exercise are we gonna do first now?
Incline dumbbell.
Incline.
Good. Incline barbell.
Sorry, barbell.
And then we'll do bench press. I might even encourage, just to get a little variety in there, I might even encourage dumbbell bench. And then you can do his chest press machines. And I might maybe even do chest flies, like 5 by 6 to 8 into presses. And not get that crazy. So he was doing 20 sets before. Dumbbell bench. Let's do 3 by. And then here we'll do 4 by 6 into. So not that crazy, but we'll do incline barbell 5 sets. Probably do a similar pyramid, but he wasn't going as heavy with incline. So I'd be a little cautious of the strength range. So maybe just keep it at 5 by 6 reps. 6 to 8 will be the number here. And then we do dumbbell press on the bench, 6 to 8. Then we're doing chest flies 6 to 8 as well, but we're going to do that into a press. So I'm going to post in my story right now. You can, Wendy, tag, just send it to your son. But you do the chest fly for 6, and then you do AMRAP with the same weight, because you're going to be able to do it because you're going to incorporate multiple joints. So get a good little burn. I'd want to see 3 to 5 minutes rest here. I want to see 3 to 4 here. Also want to do 3 to 4 here. And then do a 5-minute push-up challenge, as many push-ups as you can do for 5 minutes. So right now our volume would be 5 into 8 into 13. And then report back to me how you feeling. My bet would be this would beat him up in a way he's not used to, just from those small little tweaks, because we're not going to throw in triceps. We're going to throw in biceps.
Okay, and like, what is the deload? What does that do for you? Is that muscle confusion?
I know that's kind of a, Mark said that earlier. It's actually kind of a, don't say that word, no offense, but it's kind of a sloppy term, because there's no physiological terms behind it. And so the layman's terms, it's fine. I'm just being a nerd right now, but it's like, maybe this would help. Back in the old school days, like the bougie folk, maybe they still have it today. Apparently, I don't hang out with them, but you have like your fork for salads.
Yeah.
So like, if you don't use that fork for salad, everyone looks at you like you're a weirdo, right?
Yeah.
Think of that as like muscle confusion. If you were to talk to people in academia, they're gonna be like, "Oh, that's not right." And it's just kind of, there's certain words like that they'll uh, it's just they'll kind of get weird about. Brandon asked about if you want to just take a week off the gym, would you still get the same effect? Yeah, you would. But if you're a psychopath like me, taking a week off is a little too extreme. It's like you still want to go to the gym. So why not even go in and just work on super stuff, and even focus maybe like on stress. Like every one of those sets, you could just go super, super slow down, super slow up. And what that's going to do, can you actually tell me how that would be beneficial, especially for this kid who just was hitting sets of 40 per week? So what I would suggest for you is not to take a week off, Brandon, but you could. But even better would be go in and hit this 3x10, but really focus on the eccentric down, and then really focus on the concentric. I'm talking really slow for sets of 10. How would that be more advantageous? So what you would find from doing that is, because of the volume that he was doing at sets of 40, by doing this deload week, very, very light with eccentric, concentric focus, it's really just going to kind of reamp the connective tissue, and it's going to help strengthen his ligaments and tendons if he was experiencing anything. Now, if he was a bodybuilder or a little older, you may start getting some aches and pains in your shoulders and your elbows, your shoulders. So what that would do is it would just kind of like allow you to take a step back to ramp up, so then you can really get into that next cycle. So that's what I would suggest for connective tissue health, ligaments and tendons. But what would happen is the reason we do a deload is to think of a deload. Does your son play sports?
No.
Does he like sports? Does he watch them at all? Or
Oh yeah.
so if you watch sports, it'd be like it's kind of compare it to like a halftime show. It just allows for rest. And so if you keep on going, what could happen is, especially at the rate that he's going with this amount of volume, he could be 6 steps forward, but his car is on red. And so if he doesn't take a step back and downshift, he could blow a gasket, pop a tire. He could do something even so like really jack up a shoulder. Maybe he gets a fruit roll-up tear in the chest where it literally snaps off the bone and it curls up like that. You could get nasty stuff where you're out for months. So deloads are just a way to, if you want to use a racing analogy, it's Daytona 500. It's a pit stop. It allows you to recoup. And this would be a great week to kind of also deload with your calories. Have fun with it. Maybe you go real high in carbs. Maybe you try keto for a week. Try something different. Maybe you want to try fasted cardio, whatever. Those are great times to try it. Now, I'm very glad that Wendy sent this to us, because this is a more advanced conversation you would have. Typically, you wouldn't see a program like this. I kind of have an idea just from looking at the amount of volume here of what this person probably looks like. It isn't an easy program by any means. I wouldn't give this to a beginner, not even close. I wouldn't give this to someone who's been training for a couple of years. This is a program that is legit. I mean, 40 sets, it's a lot of work being done on the muscles. So have them try that new plan for a good month. And then what you can do is then flip it and then do a different pairing. So maybe the next pairing could be back and chest on Monday. And then it's legs and biceps on Tuesday. And then shoulders and traps on Wednesday. Then you hit back and chest on Thursday, legs on Friday. You do that for another 4 weeks and you have a deload. So the deloads are more for, I would say, the upper 5% of the population when it comes to training. I don't deload for my clients. I never do. The most advanced question I ever had with a deload was a client who trained 6 times and did 1 day by themselves. And I just told them to take that day off. And then we just dropped the volume a little bit. So it wasn't that crazy. But let's just for fun, let's take a look at the other workouts just to see.
How often would you need to deload yourself, for example?
With that type of like this volume that he's doing, he's probably getting this off of like a program like maybe someone like Israel or a true bodybuilder. Because you look at this day right here's a leg day, hack squat 5 by 5, walking lunges weighted 4, that's 9 sets, leg press 4, weighted step ups 4, leg curls, leg extension. So we're at 5, 9, 13, 17. That amount of volume is pretty darn high. And it's not based off of patterns at all. So it's just the machine, lunges, especially if you can overload them decently, you can get some good hypertrophy there, which is surprising that they put it on some leg press, step ups, leg curls, leg extensions. You can just look at the way. So here's the next leg day, deadlifts, rows, wide lat, leg raises, ab rollouts, hyperextension. This one's probably the worst day. I don't really know why they're doing that. Deadlifts 5 by, that's just a unique one. Rows 4, 8, 12. 12 sets is low for this day. Actually, no, you're getting 15. So nothing really. Let's see, anything on here that kicks that? Yeah, it's the shoulder day is pretty low compared to getting more leg extensions. So just when you have a bodybuilder design a program, the thing about bodybuilders don't have to deload. Do you guys know why?
Because they've been doing it for so long.
No, I'm stereotyping. Typically most bodybuilders at that high of a level don't need to deload.
They're juicing.
Yeah. When you juice up, you got the Mario Star. So you can do whatever you want to. You can do 60 sets, 80 sets. Like Arnold would do 40 sets. These workouts are puny compared to what Arnold would do. He'd do 40 sets per muscle. He'd be in the gym for 2.5 hours. He's also popping those things like they're Pop-Tarts. So it is interesting to see where someone gets a program for. I want to see if they're selling it because you can gather a lot of data by looking at the program, the person's credentials. A lot of times someone will be like, oh, here's my program. I competed. This is what my coach gave me. So looking at this, I would actually, I'm not saying your son, but I'm saying whoever you got it from, a flag does kind of go off in my mind that this could be borderline anabolic steroid use because of just the amount of volume you're looking at. And that's like if I were to do that leg, I don't do legs very much, I would be destroyed and I wouldn't be able to walk for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. That's a ton of volume on your legs. So, but everything else is nothing too crazy. So that would be, yeah. Any other questions? Wendy, was this helpful for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it.
And then what you can do is you can just mirror that analysis that we did on the other muscle days that he's doing. So find out his splits.
Okay.
I would encourage maybe like a chest and bicep split. Day 2 would be, I couldn't find day 2 on here. So I think it was like the one that I was missing. I don't know what day 2 is. So whatever day 2 is, whether it's shoulders or back, I would just change out the accessory muscles and then have them do that for a good 4 to 6 weeks and then implement another deload and then get some feedback. If he's not, little things that I would ask as well, when we talk about a plateau, I'd want to know, is he getting sore after these chest workouts? That's a pretty good indicator as well, because notice how I said for this workout, I don't use that indicator for most people, but for him, I would ask, are you getting sore? Because if he's not, then that means he's not training that hard, because doing 20, you're going to be sore.
asked him, I asked him about the 1 rep challenge or how hard he goes. And he said it's been a long time since he actually pushed himself to going as hard as he could.
Yeah, so that'd be kind of fun, especially the little things will probably get him sore. The chest fly into presses, the 5-minute push-up challenge, and then you do that for a month, and then maybe we start having him do chest 3 times a week, the next program. And you can do like a chest day, barbell, bench press, incline dumbbell, and then a barbell day. And then we can start changing up the rep scheme. So maybe Monday would be more 5 to 12, Wednesday or Thursday could be 8 to 15, and then Saturday could be 10 to 30. So then what we're doing is the variety is changing versus 90% of the sets are all in that 8 to 12 rep range. I'd like to see a little more spread out, maybe a couple more at the beginning of maybe like 3 to 8 rep range. So maybe 25% in that range, and then 6 to 15, maybe it's 50%, and then another 25 at 12 to 30.
Gotcha.
Any other questions on a more advanced program like this?
No, I just wanted to make sure I got the question answered. How often should you deload? Like, should you deload every month, every 6 weeks?
The only reason I talked about deloading is because the total volume that he was doing. So you do not need to deload if if everything's kind of in alignment, and if you're still getting stronger, if you're reporting you're still getting slightly sore, you're not overtrained in the sense that you're not sleeping for 12 hours because you're so damn tired, or you're really sluggish in your workouts. When you get those signs back, that's like, maybe we're on the verge of overtraining. So then we want to deload so we don't.
Oh, so
I
you
would,
just almost like a day-by-day basis, just kind of checking with yourself almost?
yeah, and that's where something like Joel Jameson gets into what's referred to as heart rate reserve, heart rate variability, HRV. And he's the pioneer behind this. He's made a million dollar boatloads of money. And he has like a watch that you wear, and you wake up and it tells you where you are in this zone. So should you get after it today, or should you back off? And this is really good for elite athletes. It's not good for the general population. But I would say, in my experience, and you guys have been in these programs for the last 6 weeks, I haven't talked about deloading at all, because for the average Joe, for most bros that go to the gym, for most lifters, I don't deload. I couldn't tell you last time I deloaded. It's because I periodize my program. I make sure to get enough rest. I'm sleeping well. I don't have a lot of stress. I'm getting enough protein. My body hasn't spoke to me that I have pain or joint issues on my upper body, at least. So I'm able to modify my programming based around that. I would only deload when you come across someone who's doing a lot of volume for a long period of time, 9 weeks at that amount of sets. That's a good amount. And then also when you report those signs or symptoms that are coming to overtraining.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? Hopefully this was helpful. We will, if you have any other questions for the weeks to come, let us know on specific cases that you have. If you know anyone that is interested in the classes, we will start offering our $10 tier, and that gets you access to just the basic skeletal anatomy, muscular anatomy, nervous system, endocrine, and then programming. And then I will put one of these in there per week. So the tier for the $100 tier, we're going to start having at least 2 to 3 classes per day. We're going to start getting another expert in. I'm not the expert, having an actual expert come in, and they'll give you guys a take on whether it's physiology, physical therapy, sports, strength and conditioning. So we're really hoping to amp up that tier 4 for you guys, tier 3, sorry, to just provide more value. And we're always open for feedback on how we can help you guys.
Thank you.